Well, as the weekend wraps up and you head back to work or school or whatever you do during the week, you're probably a little disappointed if you're hoping for winter's return this week. But I do have some hopium for you, I guess, if we want to look at the cold air that's moving into the East Coast and most of the central United States too. I want to show you some things, some data that's pointing to why this is going to happen. I've had a lot of people say, look, I don't think this is going to happen. Come on now, what are you talking about? Listen, I'm just showing you what the data is showing, and that once we look at a couple of things here, just bear with me. Let's take a look at the North Atlantic Oscillation. I'm going to show you several different models, and when this goes negative, typically that's when you not only turn cold in the East Coast, but you also have the potential to see storminess in the form of winter storms. The European going negative, the GFS going negative through the 6th, 7th, 8th, look, taking that all the way through the 15th, staying negative. The European ensembles, which takes an average of a bunch of different outcomes and parameters, staying negative also all the way through the 19th and 20th. The GFS ensembles, which is similar to the European ensembles, it's a bunch of different members and parameters. The average staying negative. This is a cold pattern, and even the Canadian model saying, yep, it's going to happen. We're turning cold, and it's going to stay stormy in the East Coast. The long-term European weeklies, this is looking out way beyond the end of this month, staying negative all the way through the end of February, which is where this is. Now we're into March, a slight rebound, and I think we see that, and then staying, though, relatively negative. So I don't think we're done with winter by any stretch. It's not going to feel like it this week. I get it. And someone said we're kicking the can down the road. We kind of are. I used to look at it this way. Every day that we stay warm might be a day that we're closer to spring if you don't like this winter weather. You can look at it that way too, I guess. I want to show you the potential that is there. Okay, in the next couple of model runs, I don't really like looking at anything past a week, but I want to show you the overnight run that came in Saturday night, early Sunday morning on the European. This is just one deterministic model run. This is not fact. I wouldn't buy into this whatsoever, but the pattern, all right? I just showed you the North Atlantic Oscillation going negative, and I didn't even get into the Arctic Oscillation, which also is going negative. This right here, guys, this is a cold pattern on that parameter too, all right? So there are multiple things saying it turns colder. Relative to February, how does that work out? Well, I think it means snowy. I think it means storminess. I'm going to go out on a limb now. Someone said, Flounder has to choose a side, one or the other, and I'm going to say it turns cold and stormy, especially for the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, maybe even the Mid-Atlantic. Now, do we get snow down into North and South Carolina? I don't know that it gets that cold, but I think the potential for snow is there. And take a look at this print, again, from overnight heading into the 13th and 14th. This is a monster snowstorm showing up on the models, dumping a foot plus in these areas. Now hold on, but don't get too excited. The model run before that, nothing, right? It pushed the snow well to the north. But the fact that the models are sniffing out the potential for storminess in that time period, and I've said, look, once we get past the 10th, I think things change, and that's what we're seeing. This is the GFS picking up on that potential storm in that same time period. And this is the GFS ensembles. Now, don't dive in too much on the rain and snow detail, but the idea is storminess. And look, northwest flow too. If you're a lover of winter weather, don't give up just yet. The long-term European ensemble weeklies also showing that cold pattern still picking up. This right here, guys, is the average atmospheric height levels, the 11th through the 18th. This is a cold pattern for the eastern United States. And look, it lasts. This is now the 17th through the 24th. This is the 21st through the 28th, and I know the date above is not exactly the same, but you're just going to have to follow me as I read these numbers out because these are the averages over those weeks. Either way, that is a cold weather pattern setting up. These are the long-term European ensemble snow outputs. This was yesterday. I want you to watch the line shift a little bit further to the south. Boom, there, a little more snowy. So the trend is a little bit colder. Not this week, though. All right, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Some of you may be extremely happy. These are high temperatures on Wednesday. How about mid-50s, close to 60s for you in Columbus, Cincinnati, up into Michigan, Detroit pushing into the mid-50s, as far north as the UP of Michigan, getting close to 50. Not quite. We're still in the 40s here. And back through Wisconsin, Chicago, upper 50s, close to 60. St. Louis in the 60s. This is an early spring, I guess, especially as we head toward the late week. How about the Piedmont of North Carolina and South Carolina, 70s in some of these areas. I think we get into the 60s, into DC, and then here comes the cool down, right on time, right around the 10th, the 11th, the 12th. I know 30s and 40s aren't cold, but compare that to 60s and 70s, right? So we were definitely getting a cool down. And climatologically speaking, yes, it is going to be below average, I think. This storm across the west is going to cause huge problems. I've been talking about that for the last couple of days, and today's the day, right? We're moving that storm inland. It's going to continue into Monday with just 3, 4, 5 inches of rain in many areas. And then in the mountains and the upslope areas, 6 to 12 inches of rain. Flash flooding likely in these areas. Winds will gust 70 to 80. We're going to see some really strong winds with a tight pressure gradient between San Francisco and LA approaching 2008 levels. And that's just going to tell you that we're just going to be funneling that wind in out of the south and southeast at times. And something that's also, I think we've got to watch too, not only that, but mudslides with these heavy rains here into the mountains of Southern California. So north of Santa Barbara, into the higher elevations. Yeah, especially in steep terrain. It's going to be an issue here. Snows in the mountains, better than 2 to 4 feet above 7,000 feet. 5 to 7,000 feet, you're probably going to get 10 to 20 inches, nothing to sneeze at. So big time snows. And I think something that has to be pointed out too, as this storm moves ashore, right, it's going to have a lot of wind shear. So change of wind direction with height. So offshore, water spouts are possible. That's basically a tornado over water. And as these cells move ashore, they potentially could become tornadoes. So there is actually a small risk of tornadoes, weak tornadoes here across Southern California, even Central California, as this system moves ashore. Thunderstorms possible, heavy rain, and those thunderstorms are just going to enhance that rainfall and that flash flooding threat. And then everything moves into the Intermountain West as we move into Tuesday and then into Wednesday, keeping snow here. Across the east, we're quiet. Seasonably cold, I guess, for the Northeast. Not a big warm up here. Temperatures chilly, seasonably chilly, I guess, for early February. Warmer than average. I've showed you the temperatures across the middle part of the country, into the Ohio Valley, down into the south. And then here comes our system across the west, pushing some snow, I think, toward the north. So once we get towards, say, Thursday and Friday, we're looking at snow across Montana, even parts of North Dakota. And then east of that, too warm for any snow. We're talking about rain from Minneapolis over to Green Bay. I mean, even the UP of Michigan, southern parts of Canada, that warm air just getting pushed to the north. And then some wraparound snow behind it for parts of Wisconsin, North and South Dakota, even parts of Wisconsin, I think, as we move into next weekend. And there comes your colder air moving in for next weekend. And there's that next system that potentially could cause some snow for these areas here from the Ohio Valley. So will it lay a strip of snow down here? I mean, is this our next storm? I'm going to be tracking it. If you've not subscribed, do so. I promise to shoot straight with you. I'm not going to give you wish casting. So if you enjoy these forecasts, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great rest of what's left of your weekend. And if I don't talk to you this week, I'll see you next time.